So the path to making a six-figure income in real estate, it's really not a secret. The answers aren't hidden away somewhere. In fact, they're simple. But there's a catch, right? They're not easy. And trust me, that difference, well, it's everything.
Okay, so in our last explainer, we talked about those clients. You know the ones. The people who just can't seem to hear good advice, who keep circling back to the same wrong conclusion no matter how clearly you lay out the facts. And I bet when you were watching, you thought, oh yeah, I know exactly who that is. And that's good. But now I've got a much harder question for you. Have you ever been that person? All right, today we're going to turn that lens around and point it inward. First, we'll get some vocabulary for growth. Then, we'll unpack that idea of simple answers versus easy ones. After that, we'll talk about the Dunning-Kruger trap and how it gets all of us. And we'll wrap up with what it all comes down to, the discipline of execution.
Look, if we're going to have an honest conversation with ourselves, we need the right words for it. And I'm talking about words that describe where we are without all the judgment. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to de-weaponize the language we use for our own development.
All right, first up, ignorance. And let's be super clear. This is not an insult. It's just the absence of information. That's it. It's the starting line for everybody. Every single expert you look up to in this business, they started right here. The good news? It's totally curable with knowledge.
Okay, next up is the word idiocy. And I know, just hang with me for a second. I need you to completely forget the insult you're used to. Because in its original meaning, it was just a way to describe someone who hadn't yet gotten the understanding they needed for a specific situation. It's just a stage of development, not some permanent character flaw. And guess what? It's also completely curable, this time with experience and a little mentorship.
In fact, if you go way back, the original Greek word idiotes, it literally just meant a private citizen, a layman, someone who just lacked a specific professional skill. It wasn't about being a fool, it was about being an amateur. That's it. It just meant you weren't a pro at something. Yet.
And finally, let's talk about acting stupid. Now this one's different from the other two. This is when you know what the right thing to do is and you just don't do it. It's a choice. It's a behavior, not who you are. And let's be honest, we have all done this. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's just to get a little bit better at catching ourselves when we're doing it.
Okay, so all of those definitions, they bring us right to the core philosophy of this entire session. It's a single idea that honestly can and probably should be the guiding principle for your whole career.
Way back in 1967, Ronald Reagan gave a speech and he said this exact thing. Now, he was talking about the federal budget, but the idea applies to just about everything. The solution he was talking about wasn't some complex economic theory, it was just spend less than you take in. A kid can understand that, right? The hard part is never, ever in understanding the answer. It's all in the execution.
And this is where that difference becomes so important. See, simple just means the path is clear. The what you need to do part isn't a big secret. But easy, well, that means the path takes hardly any effort. It means the doing part is comfortable, with no pushback. And your entire career, your success, is going to be built on understanding that huge difference.
So if it's that simple, why is it so hard? Why do we all struggle with this? Well, a lot of the time, it's because we fall headfirst into this mental trap. And it's one that gets absolutely everyone, from those clients that drive you crazy to us. It's called the Dunning-Kruger trap.
Okay, so what is the Dunning-Kruger effect? It's a weird cognitive bias where not knowing a lot about something actually makes you overestimate how good you are at it. Psychologists call it a double burden, which is just perfect. It means not only are you incompetent in an area, but that very incompetence prevents you from even realizing you're incompetent. It's like your blind spot has its own blind spot. Let's make this super real. Think about that frustrating seller, right? The one who says, I know what my house is worth, completely ignores your CMA, and then blames you when it sits on the market. Okay, now, take a hard look at the other side. Is that you? The agent who gets a handful of tough leads and immediately decides these leads are terrible. The agent who doesn't look at their conversion stats, but just blames the system. See what I'm saying? It's the exact same pattern, just coming from a different chair.
And that brings us to the absolute gut check question you have to ask yourself. When things go wrong, are you looking for confirmation that the problem is external? Bad leads, the market, whatever. Or are you looking for clarification on what your own numbers, your own actions are actually trying to tell you?
So where does that leave us?
Well, it brings us to the solution. And I'm telling you right now, it's not some magic bullet or a fancy new app. It's discipline. It's all about executing on the simple things, even when and especially when they're not easy at all. You want to know the path to making 6 figures in real estate? It is not a mystery. It's this list. Answer your phone every single time. Follow up with every single lead. Work your CRM every day. Do your CMAs right, no cutting corners. Ask for the appointment. Show up. And then you get up and do it all again tomorrow.
That's it. That's the whole system. And it is genuinely simple. But you know what? It's also genuinely incredibly hard. And the reason it's hard has nothing to do with knowing what to do. Come on, every agent knows that list. The difficulty is in the doing. It's about doing those boring, unremarkable things on the bad days, through the slow weeks, during those months when the doubt starts to creep in and any kind of result feels like it's a million miles away.
You know what's funny? The agents who grow the fastest, who really build something that lasts, they're not the ones who walked in the door on day one with the most confidence and swagger. Not at all. They're the ones who managed to stay curious the longest, the ones who kept asking themselves, what am I missing here, instead of just assuming the problem was with everyone and everything else.
So, what's the formula? It's this: constructive doubt, the good kind, about your own assumptions, plus daily, disciplined action. That is the whole game, right there. And it's not some new idea. Socrates built an entire philosophy on it. Reagan governed from it. And you can build a hell of a career on it.
So the answer to building your income, it's not complicated. It never was. The question is whether you have the courage to just do the simple thing every day, especially when it's hard. That's it. That is the whole secret.